I went searching for my Arkansas roots. I've lived in Arkansas on and off my entire life. I'd come to Little Rock to visit my dad during the summers. A couple times I even went to school here. So now that I live in the amazing state of Arkansas full time, I wanted to get a feel for where my people came from. The first place I headed was Morrison Bluff. It's a small town from which my grandmother's side of the family hailed. It was also home to my great-grandparents and my great-great-grandparents. I started my search at St. Peter's and Paul's Catholic Church. That's where my grandmother's parents went to church, where they enjoyed a social life and where they were laid to rest. My great-grandparents, Mary and Joseph Bush, are buried at St. Peter's and Paul's. I couldn't find her grave. Next, I headed to where my grandfather's family came from, and that was Scranton, just a little bit down the road from Morrison Bluff. I remember the beautiful St. Ignatius Catholic Church, to which my grandparents, Mary and Fritz, and many on the Kramer side of the family went. While I was there, I was lucky enough to enjoy the Knights of Columbus putting on a catfish fry for the community. When one of the older men found out I was the grandson of Mary and Fritz Kramer, I immediately became family. Now, being Protestant and not living in the area, the last time I was inside St. Ignatius, I was about 4 years old. I remember my grandmother, a very devout Catholic, going forward for the Eucharist. I yelled out, "Hey, Grandma, bring me some!" Amazingly, she still loved me. After I finished in the church, the men made me promise to come back for dinner that evening, and then pointed me to Subiaco. As I headed to Subiaco, I saw the building one of the locals said was the old dance hall. My grandparents spent many an evening dancing there. My dad went to school at Subiaco Academy, so I wanted to see the Abbey at Subiaco. Subiaco Academy is where my dad went to school when he was a young man. He wanted to be a priest. Obviously, he changed his mind. Here I stand. Since I had never been to Subiaco, my mind ran wild, wondering what my dad did, where he spent his time, or what he may have looked at. As I entered, I was struck at the beauty of Subiaco's church. It was absolutely gorgeous. Next, I went outside and began looking around the academy and dormitory areas. I wish I could have spent more time here with my dad, listening to all his stories. Not growing up full-time around my dad, I feel like there's so much I missed. But time slips away, sadly. So after seeing Subiaco, it was time to head back to Scranton. But before I headed back for a quick meal at the fish fry, I took a detour and headed out to my Grandma and Grandpa Kramer's old farm. As a child, I remember driving down Norman Lane to get to their home. Norman Lane hasn't changed much. Maybe it's a little bit wider dirt road. Unfortunately, my Grandma and Grandpa's place is gone. The barn is gone. The back porch where my dad used to sleep as one of 6 children in a very small house was gone. The chicken coop where we used to gather eggs and run into an occasional rat snake was gone. The only thing left of my Grandma and Grandpa's place is this well. You know, it's kind of funny, the older you get, the harder it is to get in touch with your past, because much of your past disappears. So if you're younger and you have a chance, make sure you chronicle your life well. That way you can look back and you can say, this is where I came from. This is where my people came from. Well, this is where my people came from. I found out more about where my people came from than I could ever express in a short video. So I came in search of my Arkansas roots, and this is what I found. And I end up at a fish fry at the church that my grandmother and grandfather and great-grandmother and great-grandfather went to. So it's been kind of a neat journey. My people were Arkansas country folks, and I'm good with that. It was time to go home.